Hi everyone! Have you ever wondered why so many programming style guides recommend keeping your code lines to an 80-character limit? It might seem a bit old-fashioned in this era of giant monitors, but there's a fascinating history and some very practical reasons behind this enduring standard. Let's dive into why this seemingly arbitrary number became, and in many ways still is, a common benchmark in software development. First, let's talk about history. The 80-character limit isn't just a random number. It comes from the very early days of computing. Think back to IBM punch cards. These were the primary way to input programs into computers. Each card had exactly 80 columns, and each column could hold one character. If your code line was longer than 80 characters, it simply wouldn't fit on one card. Then came early computer terminals, like the famous VT100. These screens typically displayed text in an 80-column by 24-line format. This was a physical limitation of the hardware. Printers also played a role. Many line printers in use for decades were designed to print 80 characters across a page. So, writing code that fit this constraint ensured it would display and print correctly on common equipment. It was all about compatibility with the technology of the time. Beyond history, readability is a huge factor. Our eyes are simply not great at tracking extremely long lines of text. Think about newspapers or books. They use narrow columns for a reason. Shorter lines are easier to scan. They reduce eye strain and make it simpler to quickly grasp the structure of the code. When a line goes on and on, your eyes have to travel a greater distance, and it's easier to lose your place. An 80-character limit helps keep code concise. It encourages developers to write shorter, more focused lines. This often leads to clearer, more maintainable code overall. It forces you to think about breaking down complex expressions or long function calls into more manageable pieces. Another significant benefit, especially in modern development, is side-by-side viewing. Developers often need to look at two or more files at the same time. This could be comparing code versions, reviewing a pull request, or just referencing another file while you're coding. With an 80-character limit, you can comfortably open two code files side by side on a typical widescreen monitor without excessive horizontal scrolling. This is incredibly useful for code reviews and debugging. Imagine trying to compare two files, each with 150-character lines. It would be a frustrating mess of scrolling back and forth. Tools like getDiff also present changes more effectively when lines are kept short. Of course, with today's massive monitors, some argue that the 80-character limit is outdated. And yes, many projects and languages now adopt wider limits, like 100 or 120 characters, or even more flexible approaches. However, the core principles of readability and maintainability that the 80-character limit promotes are still highly valued. It remains a strong recommendation in many popular style guides, like Python's PEP 8, because its benefits, particularly for consistent formatting and easier code review, are undeniable. It's a convention that has stood the test of time for very good reasons. Thank you so much for watching and learning about this interesting piece of software engineering history and best practice. If you found this video helpful or just enjoyed the topic, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing for more videos like this. Your support helps a lot, and I appreciate every one of you.